Good evening, everybody. Thanks again for listening. I am your host, Nelson E. Brown, and this is the Beauty in Us Radio right here on Awesome God Radio. I am so happy that you guys have had the opportunity to join me once again this evening. This evening, we're going to talk about what it means to overcome bitterness and the battle with bitterness, overcoming bitterness and wrestling with bitterness and anger and all of those emotions that coincide with one another. I appreciate you guys for tuning in once again. It's July 27th of 2021. We are still smack dab in the middle of summer. I hope you guys are staying cool, and I hope you guys are staying safe. I hope you all are still getting vaccinated. I hope you all are still enjoying all of your time with your families, and I hope you all are still taking precautions to stay safe and to stay healthy, even as we all continue to bounce back from all of the obstacles we faced throughout the past year and a half. But tonight we're going to talk about overcoming bitterness, and I think that I wanted to talk about this because I know a lot of people struggle with bitterness. Now, last year I did a show about forgiveness, but I think that it was really imperative for us to learn about how to overcome bitterness, because I think that forgiveness and bitterness, they kind of bounce off of one another. They kind of go hand in hand when we talk about healing and when we talk about what it means to move on or move forward from our past mistakes, or if we've been wronged in any way, or if we've felt betrayed in any way. I think it's important for all of us to understand what that looks like and what that feels like. And I don't think that a lot of people have the tools that they need in order to move forward in their lives when we talk about subjects like these, because it shows up in every area of our lives. A lot of people don't like to discuss this topic, but it's necessary. So that's why I wanted to discuss that a little more in depth. This time, like I said, if you didn't have a chance to go back and visit my previous show, my previous broadcast about the freedom of forgiveness, I encourage you all to go back and visit that. But for now, I'm going to talk a little bit about what it means to overcome bitterness. Now, I took some notes and I gathered some Bible verses about this topic. But I wanted to discuss this a little bit with you guys. Let's see. Let me pull my notes about how to eliminate bitterness and what it means, what it looks like, and what it feels like to overcome that. So, bitterness blows out the candle of joy and leaves the soul in darkness. Follow peace with all men and holiness, without which no man shall see the Lord, looking diligently, lest any man fail of the grace of God, lest any root of bitterness springing up trouble you, and thereby may be defiled. That was Hebrews chapter 12, verses 14 and 15. The seed of bitterness is a hurt that is planted in someone. It may be intentional or unintentional. Someone does not mean to hurt you, but you were hurt. Sometimes the hurt is only imagined. Not one has hurt you, but somehow you feel that someone has done something wrong to you. There are also times when the hurt may be the very chastisement of God upon your life. This is the context of Hebrews chapter 12, verses 14 and 15. So I encourage you all to go back and read that whenever you get the chance to. The soil of bitterness is a heart that harbors hostility and does not deal with hurt by the grace of God. When someone becomes bitter, the bitterness takes root in the heart and grows deeper. The world is full of people who have not dealt with an old hurt. They look for things to criticize, people to find fault with, and ways to justify the way they feel. Have you ever seen people who are hypercritical? Generally, they are bitter people. They know how to push your hot buttons until you react in a way to further justify their bitterness. In other words, they say that I was right. I have a right to be bitter. Now, we have learned about the seed and the soil of bitterness. Now let's take a look at the root and the fruit of bitterness, which is found in our text from Hebrews chapter 12, verses 14 and 15. The root of bitterness is underground. It is easy to hide and camouflage. You seldom do you find anyone who will admit that they are a bitter person. They will either deny it or disguise it. A bitter person is hypersensitive, ungrateful, insincere, holds grudges, and has mood swings. Bitterness will also affect you physically, emotionally, and spiritually because the fruit of bitterness is an acid that destroys its container. When your heart is bitter, God will not be real to you. Why? Because hatefulness and holiness do not dwell in the same heart, and without holiness you will not see the Lord. Let's pause for a second. So when we talk about bitterness and when we talk about people who hold grudges, I think that we need to unpack that a little more and just think about what it means to hold grudges and what it means to have an unforgiving spirit when someone has done us wrong or when someone does something that we don't approve of. Now, I've spoken to you all several times about many of the hurts that I've experienced in the past and how that's definitely held me back from opportunities, and it's affected me to the point where sometimes I wish I would have known what I knew now back then in terms of what the freedom of forgiveness looked like and it feels like. But before I move any forward, I just also want to commemorate the passage of the Americans with Disabilities Act. So please check out the article that I posted yesterday about the Americans with Disabilities Act. I don't mean to get off topic, but I wanted to recognize that and commemorate that because as a member of the disability community, I think it's important for us to know what our rights in the workplace are. And I think it's important for all of us to be recognized in every capacity. But I just wanted to throw that in there. But I don't mean to get off topic, but I forgot to mention that before I started. But I digress. When we talk about bitterness, when we talk about holding grudges and not forgiving people for what they've done, we have to think about it from the big picture. We have to think about it from a whole nother point of view. So I think that in terms of bitterness, we think about resentment, we think about anger, we think about sadness, we think about disappointment, we think about all of those negative emotions that go hand in hand when we think about that person or that situation that may have left us feeling betrayed, or the situation that may have left us feeling worthless. But have you ever considered that maybe by holding on to hurt, that it can destroy you? The longer you hold on to it, the more you harbor it, the more you suppress it. A lot of people are very prideful when it comes to talking about subjects like bitterness and about resentment and about anger and about hurt. A lot of people are very much in denial about themselves and how they feel because they're very concerned about what other people think. And in the past, I used to feel the same way, but I no longer feel that way because once you address your hurt, once you're able to voice that, and once you're able to recognize what it is, and once you seek professional help, and when you figure out how to move forward, you won't feel stuck anymore. You won't feel powerless anymore. Now, when we talk about forgiveness, we have to first talk about what was done. We have to acknowledge what was done. So that is one step in terms of eliminating bitterness and reaching a point where you are having a forgiving spirit. But in order to do that, we have to think about a few other things. We have to think about the fact that we cannot let the Lord reveal it to us. And sometimes people say, I know my heart, but there's no bitterness in me. But the truth of the matter is that you don't really know your heart. And God's word tells us that the heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it? And that's Jeremiah chapter 17, verse 9. And what that means is that a deceitful heart cannot diagnose the deceitful one. You need to let the God, the Holy Spirit, do the surgery. In other words, you have to allow your God to reveal your hurt to you, present that to you. You don't have to sugarcoat anything. It's okay to be hurt and to feel hurt and to feel betrayed. And it's okay to be angry for a little while. But what happens when that starts to damage your spirit? What happens when that starts to impair your judgment? You let your feelings get in the way. You let your emotions cloud your judgment. You let your emotions get the better of you. And you let your emotions and your feelings hold you back from opportunities. Let's think about it in terms of the workplace, for instance. Let's just use that as an example. Now, when we think about the workplace and when we think about people who want to get to the top so fast, and when people feed into the office politics and the backstabbing, and when people, in a sense, use other people in order to get what they want in the workplace, in order to achieve some type of status or some type of notoriety in the workplace. We think about that in terms of, how that makes us feel. In the workplace, those people who are very cutthroat. Those people who want to get to the top. People who are going to do whatever they have to do in order to get ahead. People who are willing to compromise their integrity in order to get what they want. When you honestly work hard and when you honestly do what you're supposed to do, yes, that definitely makes you upset. And that's an example of the workplace, when you have those people who don't have good intentions and who, in a sense, screw a lot of people over in order to get to where they are. Another example is in relationships. You sabotage yourself because the person's not good for you. The person's mistreating you, and that person is not, being in a relationship with that person is not the healthiest option for you. But you stay because you feel as though a broken relationship is better than having no relationship at all. And then you become bitter about staying, but you're afraid to leave because you don't want to start over. And in other words, in relationships, people oftentimes would rather accept crumbs than bake a new cake from scratch. So when we talk about the workplace, or when we talk about relationships, or maybe even when we talk about friendships, treating people the way we want to be treated and not taking people for granted, checking up on people instead of expecting them to do things for us all of the time. You have to recognize that and remember that, you only get what you give. In other words, what you put into the atmosphere, you will reap that in some way or another. So it's very, very important for all of us to be cautious of how we go about our lives and how we handle people and how we handle situations, because it will show up in some area of our lives and it may not always be in the best way. And we can also, in Hebrews chapter 12, verse 14, it says, follow peace with all men and holiness, without which no man shall see the Lord. And it's basically saying that you can let good replace the bad. So you cannot be holy unless you follow peace with men. So it's worth it when you forgive. But when you say things like, look at what they've done, or I'm not going to let them off the hook, or things like that, you are basically saying that, you have that, you are giving them control and power over your happiness and over your life, because when you forgive, you set two people free, and one of them is yourself and the other is that person, because the forgiveness and moving on from that bitterness is about making sure that you're in a healthy state. I know a lot of people who hold on to grudges. I know a lot of people who definitely have held on to grudges for years and years and years and years, to the point where their physical health is declining, their emotional state is declining, their spiritual health is out of whack, and they don't even recognize what the issues are. They blame everybody else for their problems, and they justify their bad behavior, and they give people a lot of power and control over them, and they don't want to acknowledge what those feelings are and what it stems from. And again, that it doesn't do you any good when you hold on to it constantly. And a lot of people hold themselves back from opportunities, or they sabotage the opportunities for themselves because they are afraid of the unknown. They are afraid of actually getting in touch with themselves and who they are and figuring out how to move forward. Have you ever met people who just always, think that they never have any problems and that everybody else is the problem but them? That's just an example of people who are in denial about their true feelings. If it's difficult for you to maintain healthy relationships, and if it's difficult for you to make amends, and if it's difficult for you to develop healthy relationships and healthy friendships with people, if it's very, very difficult for you to put one foot in front of the other consistently and to move in a direction in order to get something accomplished and feel great about it, it's a telltale sign that you definitely need to do some soul searching, because a lot of people like to point the finger, as I said before, but a lot of people don't like to acknowledge what that stems from, and the fact that they are just in pain and they suppress it in other ways. Now, it's definitely it can definitely put a wear and tear on our bodies and on our minds and on our spirits. But before I started this broadcast, I listened to a couple of songs, and two of them are by Kelly Clarkson. So if you don't know who Kelly Clarkson is, I encourage you to look her up later and listen to these songs. One is called Piece by Piece, and the other is called People Like Us. And I enjoy listening to those songs because they definitely tell stories, and they send inspirational messages about what it means to heal and move forward and stick together. So People Like Us, it's about having that village and having that community of people to hold you up when you are definitely in a state where you just feel helpless or hopeless, or when you're in a state where you feel like there's no way out. It's important for all of us to have those healthy relationships and to make amends and to end things off on a good note, because living your life with regrets is something that you don't want. You don't want anything on your conscience, especially if that person is not here anymore to make amends with, or if that person is, or that situation, or that relationship, I should say, is left, irreplaceable or unrepaired in a way. So it's important for all of us to recognize that and to acknowledge that and to learn how to move forward from that, instead of building a wall between us and the people who we feel have wronged us. It's important for us to acknowledge that to that person, but it's also important for us to give that person an opportunity to apologize and to make amends, and to give that person an opportunity to express themselves and to mend that bond that they probably have once had with you. Now, it's our responsibility to move forward, and it's our responsibility to forgive others, because we were forgiven by our Lord Almighty. Our God forgave us. So it's important for us to do the same in return, because we can't expect to get forgiveness from God if we can't extend that same amount of forgiveness towards others. That doesn't mean that you can't hold people accountable for the things that they've done or because of how they wronged you, but it just means that you have to be more mature about the situation, and you have to take that extra step and be the better person and the bigger person in order to move forward. But let's see. I'm going to read some lyrics from Kelly Clarkson's song called "Piece by Piece," and I want you all. I like the song because I think that it identifies a lot with the situations that a lot of people find themselves in, especially between their parents. And in this case, it talks about a tarnished father daughter relationship. And I think that the relationships that we develop, and that sometimes become tumultuous. I think that this song definitely helps us remember what's really important and how to move forward and how to be a better person. So I'm just going to read the lyrics to you guys and let you guys think about it. And you guys are free to look it up later. You're free to listen to it as much as you want. But in the song, she says, "And all I remember is your back, walking towards the airport, leaving us all in the past. In your past, I've traveled 1,500 miles to see you, begged you to want me, but you didn't want to. But piece by piece, he collected me up off the ground where you abandoned things. Piece by piece, he filled the holes that you burned in me at 6 years old. And you know, he never walks away. He never asks for money. He takes care of me. He loves me piece by piece. He restored my faith that a man can be kind and a father could stay." And again, this is about a tarnished relationship between a father and a daughter, and how that can be repaired with the next generation in terms of having a better relationship and having a better rapport, and just building upon that and learning from that and moving on from that. Piece by piece, I fell far from the tree. I will never leave her like you left me, and she will never have to wonder her worth, because unlike you, I'm going to put her first. He'll never walk away. He'll never break her heart. He takes care of things. He'll love her piece by piece. He restored my faith that a man can be kind and a father should be great. And again, it's a very inspirational song to listen to. And it's a very inspirational song to remember, because a lot of people have tarnished relationships with their parents. And I think that, again, this song is just a representation of that, because a lot of people don't understand how to move forward. And it's important to seek professional help, because a lot of us don't have the resources and the tools to do that successfully on our own. And it doesn't do us any justice or any service of just being mad or being angry all the time and not seeking any type of resolution. And Ephesians 4, chapter 4, verse 31 says, "Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and slander be put away from you, along with all malice." And it says that it says that be kind to one another, tenderhearted, forgiving one another as God and Christ forgave you. So that's Ephesians 4, chapters 31 and 32. And it says that in Matthew chapter 6, verses 14 and 15, it says, "For if you forgive others their trespasses, your heavenly Father will also forgive you. But if you do not forgive others their trespasses, neither will your Father forgive your trespasses." So in other words, again, as I stated before, we have to remember that, we want forgiveness from our God. So that's why it's important for us to extend that same level and that same amount of forgiveness towards that person who we feel that have wronged us, or the people we feel as though have wronged us or who have betrayed us. It's important to restore those relationships. And when we talk about getting rid of all malice and anger and discord and all of the feelings, all of the negative emotions that are associated with the feelings of bitterness, we have to think about the big picture. We have to think about our sanity. We have to think about how this is going to affect us later if we don't heal from that and if we don't move forward. And we can't continue to have that victim mentality that a lot of people have. In other words, we can't continue to blame other people for our problems. We have to take accountability for the things that we have not done and the relationships that we have not restored and we have not healed from and learned from. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to be upset, and it's okay to voice your concerns and your frustrations. But when it becomes detrimental to your health, your physical health, your emotional state, and your psychological well-being, and even with your spiritual being, your spiritual health, that's when it definitely becomes a problem. And you don't want to put yourself through a lot of unnecessary stress, and you don't want to live your life with regrets, and you don't want to live your life, being distant from everyone and not learning how to, you have to learn how to live a stress-free life in terms of not letting the bitterness take control of you and just nipping that in the bud immediately. And again, that village of people that I talked about before, they can help you along the way. Now, Ezekiel chapter 3, verse 14 says that the Spirit lifted me up and took me away, and I went into bitterness in the heat of my spirit, the hand of the Lord being strong upon me. And Colossians chapter 3, verse 13 says that bearing with one another, and if one has a complaint against another, forgiving each other, and as the Lord has forgiven you, so you must also forgive. And Isaiah chapter 38, verse 17 says that, behold, it was for my welfare that I had great bitterness, but in love you have delivered my life from the pit of destruction, for you have cast all my sins behind your back. Proverbs chapter 15, verses 1 says that a soft answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. So in other words, what all of these verses are saying is that, again, it's okay to voice your frustrations, and it's okay to feel hurt, and it's nothing wrong with feeling frustrated and feeling upset about feeling betrayed by someone or a group of people that you feel have wronged you. But again, you can be the more mature person and you can be the better person. Just because you want to lash out in anger doesn't mean that it's necessary to do all of the time. And you can't let people take you there. People will get on your nerves. I think that is inevitable. That's something that you can't change. But your response to it is what makes the difference. Your response to it is what matters. And how mature you are in that situation is more important than you getting the last word or you cursing them out or stooping to their level by giving them all of that power and control. And again, people will get on your nerves. That's inevitable. You have to deal with people. You have to deal with circumstances and situations that you don't like. And you have to deal with people that you may not be too happy with, and you may not, that may not be your cup of tea at all. But again, it's important for you. Your response to that situation, your response to that person is what matters. Being mature about it is more important than having the last word. And just because you want to lash out in anger doesn't mean that it's necessary. Just because you want to curse them out and give them a piece of your mind doesn't mean that you have to do that. Sometimes you have to walk away. And again, you feel better about yourself when you are the bigger person, and when you do make the initiative, and when you do say, you know what, I'm not going to feed into this. I'm just going to move on. I'm going to have a good day. I'm not going to let anything bother me. This situation is going to be in my rearview mirror. So again, it can be a pretty tough journey to be on. And forgiveness is not easy. Overcoming bitterness is not easy. A lot of people have been traumatized by their life experiences, especially from their childhood and into adulthood. A lot of people have a lot of unresolved issues, and a lot of people are just saturated in so much pain and anguish that they don't even know how to express the need for help or assistance from someone else. But the song People Like Us is a song that I told you about. It's from Kelly Clarkson too. And she says in the lyrics, she says that we come into this world unknown, but know that we are not alone. They tried and knock us down, but change is coming. It's our time now. Everybody loses it. Everybody wants to throw it all away sometimes. I know what you're going through. Don't let it get the best of you. You'll make it out alive. People like us, we've got to stick together. Keep your head up. Nothing lasts forever. Here's to the here's to the lost and forgotten. It's hard to get high when you're living on the bottom. We are all misfits living in a world on fire. Sing it for the people like us, the people like us. This is not a funeral, it's a revolution. After all your tears have turned to rage, just wait, everything will be okay. Even when you're feeling like it's going down in flames. She continues to talk about how important it is to hang there and to have that village with you guys, because we can't get through it on our own, and we can't go through it by ourselves, even though people are very prideful and people don't like to seek assistance from others because they're afraid of how they're going to be perceived. It's really not about anybody else. It's about your sanity and your health and your wellness. So you need to do whatever you have to do in order to make that happen. And I tell you guys all the time, I'm in therapy sessions every single week, and I'm learning more and more about myself within each and every therapy session. I'm using all of the tools at my disposal. So, I'm very open and transparent about that. I'm very open about my insecurities and very open about what it means to struggle with perfectionism and feeling good enough. And I'm very open about my struggle with my self-image and with my confidence. So it's nothing wrong with that. I've spoken to you guys about unresolved anger that I've had in the past and how I've healed from that and how I've let that go and how that freedom of forgiveness has turned into happiness for me. So it's definitely important. And she says throughout the rest of the song, she says that she continues to say that, it's important for us to have that village. She sums that up in a nutshell. She says, we got to turn it up loud when the flames get higher. We are all misfits living in a world on fire. Sing it for the people like us. So again, she continues to say that. She says that they can't do anything to you. They can't do anything to me. This is the life that we choose. This is the life that we bleed. So throw your fists in the air. Come out if you dare. Tonight we're going to change forever. So it's again, she's pleading everybody to stick together, and she's pleading for everyone to again rally around each other and to just have that support system, that strong support system with you, because we can't get through bitterness alone. We can't conquer anger and pain alone. But the best way to conquer that is to seek professional help and to gather all of the resources that you can so that you can be successful at healing and so that you can move forward, building new relationships, leaving the past in the past and moving forward, and not making any excuses to justify your bad behavior or the reason why your life is where it is right now. Because you don't want the same drama coming in to new experiences and new relationships. And you can also practice empathy, because empathy is something that we need so that we can put ourselves in that other person's shoes and to look at things from their point of view. And having that sympathetic, having that heart, and having that sympathy for another person, it's important for us to look at things from another perspective. It's not always about us. And we don't want to miss out on opportunities, and we don't want to lose love and connection that we desperately need in order to survive in this world. So it can definitely be a tough pill to swallow when you don't know how to conquer everything. Let me scroll through some of these comments. I've been posting some comments. Let's see. This Facebook user Miss Amy says that you have to voice it at the moment, and you don't have to be angry or mad when you say it. There's a better way to say it. So this user says, voice it calmly, and you'll get a calmly response. Mr. Daniel, thank you everybody for tuning in. I have a lot of people tuning in tonight. So this user, thank you, Mr. Daniel, for tuning in this evening. I appreciate you for your input. If both parties are arguing at the same time, no one is listening. It's best to hear what each other is saying. By doing this, you're communicating positively. Never leave the room upset or mad, because if something happens to them on the way home, you'll regret not making up, especially if that was just something small. And somebody got to be the bigger person. So again, these are all great responses you guys have given about tonight's topic about overcoming bitterness and moving on from hurt and moving on from that resentment and that anger that a lot of people feel because they may have been traumatized by experiences from their past that have led them to where they are today. And forgiveness, to sum it up, is simply just letting go of grudges and moving forward. So forgiveness can mean different things to different people, and holding on to harboring bitterness can mean different things to different people as well. But according to the MayoClinic.org, it says that the benefits of forgiving someone, it says that it can make way for improved health and peace of mind. And it says that some of those benefits of forgiving someone include healthier relationships, improved mental health, less stress, anxiety and hostility, lower blood pressure, fewer symptoms of depression, a stronger immune system, improved heart health, and improved self-esteem. And it says that, why is it so easy to hold a grudge? Being hurt by someone, particularly someone you love and trust, can cause anger, sadness, and confusion. If you dwell on hurtful events or situations, grudges filled with resentment, vengeance, and hostility can take root. If you allow negative feelings to crowd out positive feelings, you might find yourself swallowed up by your own bitterness and sense of injustice. Some people are naturally more forgiving than others, but even if you're a grudge holder, almost anyone can learn to be more forgiving. So if you're unforgiving, it has a list of effects of holding a grudge. So some of them include bringing anger and bitterness to every relationship and every new experience. It says that you can become so depressed or anxious, and you can also become so wrapped up in the wrong that you can't enjoy the present. And you sometimes feel that your life lacks meaning or purpose, or that you're at odds with your spiritual beliefs, and you lose valuable and enriching connectedness with others. And again, these are some of the things that I talked about, earlier on in the broadcast about what it means to, what the effects of harboring bitterness are, and the benefits of letting go and moving on. So it says that if the hurtful event involved with someone whose relationship you otherwise value, forgiveness can lead to reconciliation. This isn't always the case, however. Reconciliation might be impossible if the offender has died or is unwilling to communicate with you. In other cases, reconciliation might not be appropriate. Still, forgiveness is possible, even if reconciliation isn't. I'm going to be really transparent for a minute and just talk about this for a minute. Just in case you guys haven't noticed, I'm a very, very easygoing person for the most part. When it comes to when it comes to talking to people and just interacting with people, I'm very easy to get along with, and I'm very easy to have a conversation with. I know a lot of people, and I have a good rapport with a lot of people, but if you really, really know me, you really, really know that forgiveness is something that I've struggled with a lot, and I've worked on it extensively, especially as I've gotten older. Things from my past, in terms of feeling betrayed by people that I've trusted and people that I loved, they've definitely, it's definitely taken its toll on me. And I don't wear my feelings on my sleeve, but I definitely held grudges in the past. I definitely it definitely made me angry. The discord and the frustration was real. So it was a long standing battle, and I still struggle with that. But now that I'm older, and now that I'm looking at the big picture, and now that I'm building my career and building my life, I'm starting to understand that those things from the past, I can learn from them and move forward. I don't have to hold. I don't have to harbor any grudges. Now I can still deal with that person or those people that have wronged me differently. I don't have to, of course. I can still hold them accountable, but I don't have to harbor that anymore. I have too many things to look forward to, and I have too much life ahead of me to be focused on that and to dwell on that. And I have to see the beauty in everything, not just that obstacle or that roadblock that got in my way or that tried to stop me from moving forward. So it's definitely important for all of us to recognize that. Romans chapter 12, verses 2 says, "Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, that by testing you may discern what the will of God is, what is good and acceptable and perfect." So it's important for us to continue to learn, to continue this journey of growth and of just learning how to be a better person and how to be a stronger person. And if we think about people who are leaders, excuse me, if we think about people who are leaders, or when we think about people that we idolize or we look up to, we have to think about the fact that they didn't become a leader overnight, and that they've had experiences that make them better people today, and they make them who they are today. How can you really lead or provide someone with a testimony of your own if you haven't really been through anything, and if you haven't really experienced anything, if you haven't gone through any trials or tribulations, and if you haven't had any struggles, if you haven't struggled with anything, and if you haven't hit rock bottom? A lot of people don't. A lot of people are definitely. It's definitely. It can be much. It can definitely leave us feeling confused if that person hasn't really experienced what we've experienced. But when you have lived through the experiences, and when you have lived through trials and tribulations, and when you have lived through that tough times, I should say, you will definitely come out on the other side of it stronger, because there's a word called resilience, and there's another word called persistence. And that means that you can keep going when the going gets tough. You have the tools and the resources to not crumble under pressure, but learn how to move forward and make adjustments that are necessary to get where you want to be. And you become that better man or that better woman when you do go through that, and when you do learn from that. I mean, how can you really grow and learn from anything if you don't go through anything? How are you going to be in the position to plan your life moving forward if you don't gather all of the tools now that you need so that you can be successful later? It's really important for us to recognize that, and it's really important for us to have those tools. And people often think about the people that we can't change and that we try to change, when we talk about bitterness and having difficulties with forgiving them. And I can simply say that, especially from experience, that getting another person to change his or her actions, or even with their behavior, is not the whole purpose of forgiving that person or moving forward and conquering bitterness. It's more about how it can change your life, not that person's life. And it's also about bringing you peace. It's not about that other person at all. It's about your peace, your happiness, and your emotional and spiritual healing. And forgiveness and overcoming bitterness can take away the power that the other person has on you and your life. And if you're the person that needs forgiveness, because we all do, we all have done things that we're not proud of, and we all have done things that were not godly. We've all have said things that are not godly. We've all been in the position where we have just totally forgotten all about our morals and all about us being saved and sanctified and everything else. And we've done things that we're not proud of. We've asked for forgiveness. So it's just important for us to extend that same amount of forgiveness, that level of forgiveness in return to the people who've wronged us. So it goes hand in hand. It goes hand in hand. I like this user's comment. It says, no one can change someone. No one can change someone. That person themselves have to change themselves. Yes, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. It says that the first step is to honestly assess and acknowledge the wrongs you've done and how they have affected others. Avoid judging yourself too harshly. If you're truly sorry for something you've said or done, consider admitting it to those you've harmed. Speak of your sincere sorrow or regret and ask for forgiveness without making excuses. And it says that, remember, however, you can't force someone to forgive you. Others need to move to forgive in their own time. They need to come to a state of forgiveness in their own time. And whatever happens, commit to treating others with compassion, empathy, and respect. So again, this is talking about us when we want forgiveness and when we want that mercy from that person that we want from our Lord Jesus Christ. So when we talk about mercy, we talk about giving someone a second chance, even if they don't deserve it. But when we talk about compassion, we have to think about the ways in which we can help others. When we talk about sympathy, we talk about understanding where that person is coming from, looking at things from their point of view, being in their shoes. It's really important for us to do that so that we don't become self-absorbed, and it helps us build our interpersonal communication skills, which a lot of people lack. Romans chapter 12, verse 17 through 21 says that, repay no one evil for evil, but give thought to do what is honorable in the sight of all. If possible, so far as it depends on you, live peaceably with all. Beloved, never avenge yourselves, but leave it to the wrath of God, for it is written, vengeance is mine, I will repay, says the Lord. To the contrary, if your enemy is hungry, feed them. If he is thirsty, give him something to drink. For by doing so, you will heap burning coals on his head. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. So, in other words, that verse is telling us to not seek revenge on that person. Yes, pray and ask God to help you change for the better. Absolutely. So again, this is, you can give it to the Lord and you can definitely let him handle it. Just because that person is doing something wrong doesn't mean that you have to feed into it and seek revenge. Sometimes we get very frustrated, we get very upset, we get very angry, and we don't think about our moral compass at all. When anger and malice and discord, when that impairs our judgment, and when that takes its toll on our minds, our bodies, and our spirits, all us being saved, sanctified, and everything else, all of that goes out the window when we're mad, okay? All of that goes out the window when we're pissed off at that person. We want to lash out in anger, we want to curse them out, we want to do a whole bunch of other stuff. But that verse is telling us that, being evil is not necessary. You never, ever, ever let your enemies see you sweat. I can tell you that from experience, because, a lot of people have irritated me and have gotten on my nerves too, but you will never, ever, ever see me sweat. But I will sometimes let it out behind closed doors. But, right now, like if I will never let my enemies see me sweat. And it's very important for all of us to never let our enemies see us sweat. It's important for us to be mature at all costs. Now, it doesn't change how we feel. We can still be upset, but it's just the way we handle it. And it's just the way we it's just our response to it is what matters. It's not about, again, having the last word, and it's not about us giving everybody a piece of our mind all of the time. It's very important for us to pick our battles. It's very important for us to learn how to communicate in a positive manner and communicate effectively. It's important for all of us to do that, because it can definitely get us in trouble if we don't know how to do that, and if we don't open ourselves up for opportunities for growth and improvements and progress. We can definitely pay for it later. But it's in Proverbs chapter 20, verse 22, it says, "Do not say, I will repay evil. Wait for the Lord, and he will deliver you." Psalm chapter 37, verse 8 says that, "Refrain from anger and forsake wrath. Fret not yourself. It tends only to evil." And 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 1 says that, "Put away all malice and all deceit and hypocrisy and envy and all slander." So all of these verses are, again, telling us to, it's okay. It's, you don't have to, again, seek revenge. You don't have to dwell in all of the anger and all of their bitterness and all of their resentment and all of the malice and slander. You don't have to engage in that, and you don't have to feed into that. It's important to accept it for what it is and heal from it and move forward, because, again, it will place a wear and tear on all of us in every aspect of our health. So it's again, you never let your enemy see you sweat. You never let your enemy see you at your work. Yes, kill them with kindness. So that is the nail in the coffin right there. Kill them with kindness. So be respectful to them when they're not respectful to you. You demand respect when you walk in the room. You demand respect by your presence. Now, you demand respect by not allowing people to mistreat you. You demand that respect by your presence and displaying class. That's what's important, and that's what really matters. Again, never let your enemy see you sweat. I never let my enemy see me sweat. People, again, get on my nerves, no doubt about it. And, I let it out behind the scenes, but in front of the scenes, I will never let my enemy see me sweat. And it's important for all of us to, again, be cool. We pick our battles. We don't entertain everything. We don't have the last word for everything. We don't have to be hypersensitive. We can still be cool, calm, and collected. So, again, this was a very, very interesting lesson for you guys, and I encourage you all to talk about this amongst yourselves, and I encourage you all to share this broadcast with your family members, your friends, your colleagues, and everyone who may be struggling with bitterness, because everybody has been wronged, and everybody has done something wrong to somebody. So it's important for all of us to gather all of those tools and resources that we need so that we can be successful, and so that we can heal relationships that have been tarnished, not just in the workplace, but also in our home lives and with everyone that we come in contact with and that we cross paths with. So I wrote a book about our souls being in armor. So The Beauty in Us Radio, Our Souls in Armor, is still available on Amazon. So head on over to Amazon.com to purchase your copy of the book. It has a list of prayers. It contains a list of prayers, a book of prayers that are about healing and reconciliation, forgiveness and strength, and they definitely put you in a place where you can, be in your prayer closet or in your prayer area, because I think it's important for all of us to have that area in that room for us, so that we can collect ourselves and put our minds, our bodies, and our souls to rest, and give all of our concerns and all of our baggage to God, so that He can help us along the way. So I appreciate you all for tuning in to the broadcast for this evening. I appreciate you all for all of your love and support. I'm coming up on a year of doing this show. September 8th will make it a year since I've done I've been doing the Beauty in Us radio right here on Awesome God Radio. I encourage you all to, again, tune into my other shows, my other broadcasts. I've had such an amazing guest. I have more things that are planned for this fall, but I want you all to stay tuned as I get that together. I'm still in the planning stage right now for my shows this fall. But before I forget, I want to remind you guys that, again, yesterday we celebrated 31 years for the passage of the Americans with Disabilities Act. So as a member of the disability community, I think it's important for all of us to recognize, for all of us to be recognized, and for us to know what our rights are in the workplace, and for every single community to embrace us with open arms. So again, I thank you all for tuning into tonight's show. I'm still working on more content for the show this fall and early into next year, but I'm still getting things together. And also the Newsome Gospel Music Awards, the 26th, I think it's the 26th, yeah, the 26th Newsome Gospel Music Awards is next Saturday, August 7th, 2021, from 7 to 10 p.m. I will be representing Awesome God Radio, and we have been nominated for Internet Station of the Year. So I encourage you all to, again, purchase tickets if you haven't to the show. Dr. Frederick Ware Newsome is the CEO of the Newsome Awards. Please feel free to reach out to him. For more information, you can find him on Facebook. You can find him at, what's the website? Let's see. You can find him on Facebook, and you can also find him on newsomekingdom.com for more information about the 2021 Newsome Gospel Music Award festivities. Again, it's such an amazing show. This is my third year being a part of this show and a part of this community. It's going to be down at the Baltimore Convention Center from 7 to 10 p.m. again on August 7th, which is next Saturday. Again, please feel free to get your tickets, purchase your tickets. Dr. Bobby Jones is a legendary gospel music artist, a Grammy-nominated artist who's going to be hosting the show with a couple of other recording artists. So, again, it's definitely, thank you for posting this. Thank you for putting this in the chat box in the comment section below. So again, purchase your tickets and come out to support the show. I will be there with other amazing guests. I will be in the VIP section. I will be doing interviews with some of the amazing guests, and I will be taking photos and everything else. My mom and I are going to have a really, really great time. So I encourage you all to, again, come out and support the show, come out to support Awesome God Radio, to support the Beauty in Us Radio, and all of the other shows that are a part of this station, so that we all can have a great time. The Newsome Awards, they put on a great show. So I know this is going to be a blast, especially since we haven't seen each other and we haven't have been able to celebrate our success throughout the course of the pandemic. So take care of you guys, and just remember, stay safe and stay healthy. I pray that this has been a blessing to you. I pray that you all can find some peace and healing with some of the stuff that I've shared this evening. Again, feel free to download the Awesome God Radio app and follow us on all of the social media platforms at on Awesome God Radio's website. So it is, let's see, we're on Facebook, Instagram, and all of the other social media platforms. You can follow me at Nelson E. Brown or Nelson Brown on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and all of the other social media sites. And you can also subscribe to AGR at awesomegodradio.com. Again, we have so many amazing people and so many amazing personalities here who are a part of the network. So again, stay safe, stay healthy, and I will see you all next week. I will be posting the content for next week's show this Friday, and I still do apologize for last week. It's just, I've been doing a lot, so I've been trying to handle a lot, so please forgive me. But I love you all. I appreciate you guys. I don't take any of you all for granted. It's a humbling experience being a part of this station. and being part of this family. So take care. I love you guys. Bye.